Isa is on. Awesome, awesome. Yes, this is going to be a huge blessing for people and to learn about this and to hear about this. So, first of all, let me start again by introducing you. Dr. Jeff Fannin, we met a couple of months ago. You live here in Arizona, thank goodness. You're a neuroscientist and you're an author. I've seen you in a movie called Intuition. Um, you are a published study that you have that's being peer reviewed right now and should be on PubMed. And you do brain mapping. So explain to us, I had never heard of brain mapping before. So explain to my friends and our Facebook friends out there, what is brain mapping?
Yeah, I probably hear that question. That's the first question out of people's mouths is, what is brain mapping? So we start with an electroencephalogram, and we put a cap on your head and measure 20 locations. Put this gel down in the cap so that it makes contact with the scalp, and then extracts the different frequencies, and we bring it up on a screen. So those are the squiggly lines that you usually see. And then we'll take that information and we'll convert it to a quantitative EEG. And the quantitative EEG is what we typically call a brain map. And that way we can see the patterns in the brain or things like that that allow for things like anxiety or depression or ADD or ADHD, and all different situations come with a signature.
Mm-hmm. So when you do the brain mapping and you identify, so let's take someone with ADD, right? So you identify what's going on in the brain, and then so what do you do from there with your programs? What can you do with that?
Yeah, we for the last 23 years have been doing neurofeedback. So I'll build a protocol for the individual, which is fairly complicated. We won't get into that here, but telling the brain to do something or not do something. So there's a part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens that's how we learn everything. So they might be watching a video, for example, and this protocol will tell them to increase this frequency or decrease that frequency. I can put in like 250,000 variables if I want, but it's usually like 16 different things that we're having the brain do, because the brain's a pretty dynamic instrument. It in our conscious, our thinking part of the brain, the cortex up here, we will typically process at about 40 bits per second. Now the subconscious, where most of this stuff happens, and the nucleus accumbens is basically telling us what to do, is processing at 40 million bits per second. So we don't have to be consciously aware of. As an example, a person might be watching a video and it's attached to this protocol, and by doing whatever we've asked again and again and again, it causes new dendrites to form, new neural pathways to grow, and we're literally rewiring the brain. And that's what brain training is all about, is just picking a point. And I can see this in 3D while they're actually training.
Wow, that is so fascinating. And so you've been doing this for many, many years, and you have used, many different techniques. But recently you were introduced to NRF2 activation.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was introduced to that, and it just literally changed my world, by
Why?
understanding the NR. Well, when I started looking at the research, actually, the gal that enrolled me in LifeVantage, we were doing a brain map on her just for the fun of it, just so she could see what we do. And she saw a pamphlet sitting on the table there in my office, and she said, let me introduce you to something. This pamphlet was about aging and dealing with cell inflammation and things. And so she said, let me send you some stuff. She started texting me, and one after another, got a whole bunch of them. So I was paying quite a bit of attention to them. And it allowed me to get on PubMed and start looking at the depth of research that was there. And through that research, I really realized that we're looking at real science, very deep science, and very strong science. And so that captured my attention, and decided that, you know, what kind of a doctor would I be if I wasn't telling other people about this? Because it is truly a medical breakthrough. So being the scientist that I am, I decided that I would put this to the test with some of my own people that I'm working with. So started running some tests and different variables to see what would happen. And so we had basically like a 15-year-old male, put him on NRF1, NRF2, and some Axio, because he had been diagnosed by another doctor with having inattentive ADD. So he couldn't focus or concentrate. And so I wanted to see, you know, would this be of any kind of benefit for him? So when he took it, we had a brain map that we did before. And so like in October of this year, we did a brain map on him because he'd done about 18 sessions of neurofeedback. And then the holidays came, and you know, they had company in from out of town, and there was a little bit of time there where he didn't do a lot of training. Then after the holidays, we put him on this NRF1, NRF2, and the Axio, and then decided about 12 days later to do another brain map and see what had occurred. And that's where it got really unusual for me. It was almost like walking into the twilight zone, I think, because I was able to see, if you haven't seen the video that we did before, I would encourage you to go find that and take a look at it.
Or you can put it in the comments if you want to see the video that we did, and in that video, Dr. Fannin shows the brain map and the before and after of the picture. So if you want that, put it in the comment, just say, send me the video and we'll get it out to you.
Yeah, so once I saw that, I couldn't explain it, you know, because in 23 years of practicing, I had never seen anything that would change that quickly. And I tried to account for it by, you know, was there something wrong with the cap? Was there something wrong with the computer? Was there something wrong with the data? And everything checked out. And so I really didn't have an explanation. And I started thinking back in some of my training and experience, and looking at a quantum physics model. So when you consider how the body reacts and deals with sending energy and information down at the cellular level, we have 600 million billion cells, and they have to be what's called dynamic. And by dynamic, I mean there has to be a greater elevation of coherence. If they're not coherent, then the cell or the organ is dead. So the dynamics of that has to be that there is some coherence. When I started looking at it from a coherence standpoint, then I was able to see, okay, this is happening down at the molecular level below what we even our knowledge can understand. Most people don't understand it, but it made perfect sense to me why these changes in energy would happen at that cellular level. And so then we would see the changes in the brain map. And that made sense to me. So I had another fellow, a good friend of mine, that when we were taking Tai Chi and Qigong classes, got to be friends, and he is suffering from prostate cancer. So we did some tests on him and put him on the NRF1, NRF2, kept the Axio out, just trying to isolate some variables here to see how that would affect him. And we found basically the same thing when we looked at the energy flow in the body. And interview that I did the other day with Becky Taylor, we showed what some of that stuff looks like. And we can get that to you if you write in the comments that you're interested in seeing that. We can put that out there for you. But it didn't really address his prostate cancer because that's a different part of the equation here. But it did make a change in his chakra alignment, in his energy field, and more importantly, the stressors, how he was dealing with the stress. When we consider oxidative stress, which is at the base of all of this, oxidative stress comes from that environment that we live in. You know, the food that we eat, the pollution in the air, all of the kinds of things that enter into the element of creating the free radicals that go on and begin to damage our cells. It becomes a real key element in this whole thing. Now, a few years ago, back in 2015, I did a study on energy healing with 60 known energy healers. And part of the study, we were looking at the mitochondria of the cells. So the mitochondria and the microtubule in relationship to that is what creates the biophotonic energy that we have in our body. So that was kind of a link for me to go back and look at the what's happening with the NRF1, NRF2, and the mitochondria of our cells and how they're communicating. So it's really a very, very strong link, and watching how it changes the energy in the body and getting down to coherence. You know, how is the body transmitting energy and information in those 600 million billion cells? So we essentially have three electromagnetic centers that are very important in our body. One is the electromagnetic centers around our chakras. And if you're not familiar with that, you can look that up on the internet. But the second electromagnetic center is around the heart. And the third one is the electromagnetic center around the brain. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that the electromagnetic center around the heart is 60 times greater than the electromagnetic center around the brain. So there are more signals going from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. And it's traveling up that sympathetic nervous system. And so when oxidative stress is being diminished, then we get more of these stressors that are moving up that trigemic nerve to affect the brain, and the brain then trying to communicate back down. But there's a lack of balance between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So I'm not trying to give you a whole lesson in physical anatomy here, but it does relate back to the story. So in dealing with this particular individual, and we could see that the coherence, once we improve the coherence, and we have a measure that he would clip on his ear, and we could measure this over like 11-day period and see his coherence grow. And then when we got to looking at his activated coefficient, which means how is he handling the daily stressors, it got much better. He was down in the what we call the pink area in a protective mode, and because of all of the things that he was dealing with. But after 11 days of taking the NRF1 and NRF2, we found that he was actually up in the green zone because he was handling daily stressors. He got back to walking 2 miles a day and going to the gym 3 days a week. And so even though his physical energy was a little bit higher, it's because he hadn't been doing any physical activity, but now he was. So that was pretty amazing to me to look at what's at the basis of all of this stuff. How is it functioning in our body? And it really goes right back to that mitochondria, you know, and the repair of the mitochondria, you know, with the NRF1.
Mm-hmm. So when you talked about the 15-year-old, not only did you see the improvement on the second brain map you did after he had activated that NRF2 pathway and the NRF1 pathway. And just so people understand, these are pathways in your body that are activated. And I know you're drinking your Axio, yay! But NRF2, for example, when you activate that pathway, it's a messenger. It goes into your body, it finds a problem, then it goes back to the cell and it communicates with the cell, and it tells the cell, make more of these enzymes, make less of this, make more inflammation, make less inflammation. So it's correcting the gene expression. The NRF1 pathway tells the body to repair the mitochondria and make more mitochondria. So I just want to clarify that we're not saying that any of this is to treat, cure, prevent any disease, right? The child still has ADD, but what physically have they seen as a difference? You know, I know you mentioned the teachers, so if you can explain that part of it, what was happening before he activated, you know, the NRF2 and the NRF1 pathway.
Yeah, the parents were getting 2 and 3 calls a day from the school about his behavior. He's using inappropriate language. He's not bringing in his homework. You know, the very typical things that we will see with ADD and ADHD is what was occurring. And excuse me, the school didn't know that we were actually going to do this little mini study, if you will. And so after being on it for a while, the mom showed me a report from the teacher, one of the teachers, that said, wow, what a turnaround. You know, he's coming in, he's bringing in his homework, he's not talking with inappropriate language, you know, pretty amazing. And the parents were seeing it as well, you know, that he was more susceptible to family things and not arguing as much. And he's really a very good kid and wants very much to improve. But with the condition like this, it takes a while for the gaps in their learning and their training and their behaviors to catch up. So even though his brain might be functioning better and he can do better, and in one of the trainings, I kind of got down at ear level with him and I said, so tell me, how do you think this is helping you? And he said, I think I'm focusing a lot better in class now. And one interesting thing is a little side story here is he went out with some friends and they went to a movie and he left his bag where he had his NRF1 and NRF2 and his Axio in the bag and didn't get back to it. And they took him home. And so he was without it for about a week before they got it back to him. But he started to feel a difference, you know, and he wasn't focusing as well and things weren't going as well for him. And then once he got back on it, then he was doing much better. So we still have a struggle in helping him get his grades up to where they need to be, because that's usually what happens when their brain starts performing better and focusing and concentrating. They still have gaps in their learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's only been a month now, so you know the
Right.
longer he's
Yeah.
on it, you know, the better. I mean, I remember I've been on, you know, I've been activating my NRF2 pathway for almost 9 years now, and I remember the first month I got on, and we didn't even have, you know, the brain drink Axio at the time. It was just the NRF2 activator, but I remember my brain literally just a focus and a clarity, and you know. Uh, I just, you know, I didn't realize as you get older, you kind of lose a little bit of that focus and that clarity, and your brain just isn't as crisp, right? And then all of a sudden, it was like a light bulb went off. Like I was like, my brain was just tracking so much, and I could do multiple things, and I knew where everything was going on. And it was just like my brain was unlocked. It was an amazing feeling. And, you know, over the years, I think, you know, with the NRF1 coming along and then the brain drink, you know, it's just this clarity and focus. And I know before I go work out, if I need that extra boost of energy, that I, you know, I take my Axio and then I go and I just, have so much more endurance. I just feel so much better in my brain, in that clarity. It's funny for uh, even hangovers. My hello, Texas is calling you. They want to talk to you.
Texas
Look
is
at that.
calling.
You're being, people want to talk to you. Um, so
Right.
my,
So
so I'm gonna tell on my 21-year-old college son. He's like we were talking about it, and I know that there's like mobile vans that you can go get IVs after, hanging, drinking or, partying, go get IVs, and what they're putting is antioxidants into your body to help you heal from the hangover. So activating your NRF2 tells your body to make its own antioxidant enzymes, which are much more potent. So my 20-year-old said, "Mom, I never had a hangover. Like my friends get hangovers, but I never have a hangover." Of course not, right? He's activating NRF2, NRF1, taking his Axio. And in the morning, I will tell you, if you do have a night that you have a little bit extra wine, and we had this conversation the other day, right? You
yeah,
take that
yeah.
Axio, and within 20 minutes, the headache is gone, the hangover is gone, and you feel amazing. So it's Saturday, right? So anybody gonna go party out on
Yeah,
party
take your
tonight?
Axio with you.
Take your Axio, yeah, take one in the morning, and when you get up, and you just kind of feel amazing. So it's incredible what that's doing on a cellular. What I love is, so I have thousands and thousands of people, activating it on these products, and um, we hear these stories, but now we have the scientific proof, looking at the brain map before and after, and I'll post some of the pictures in this thread, but seeing that before and after, and what you see in the brain, so we know that it is doing what it says it does in the brain, and that's awesome. The best part is, hearing the stories where the teacher doesn't know anything what's going on, but she's already seen the difference. And we hear that over and over and over again. They're focusing better, they're concentrating, their mood is better. Like, I even think for depression, being happier, in a better mood. I know when I'm moody and I'm kind of feeling a little down, I have an Axio, and my whole like brain just brightens up. It's not just the energy, it's the, it just, I feel happier. I feel, on cloud
Yeah,
nine, kind of.
me too. It's much easier. You bring that up, and I think maybe someday I'll do a study on this. That 80% of our thoughts are negative every day. 80%.
Wow.
And it's about controlling some of those. Now, the other factor is that the following day, that 95% of your thoughts are the same thoughts that you thought yesterday. So let's take this back to the Axio here. And so you wake up and you're activating your brain, you're opening it up, you've taken your Axio, and now you're activating, excuse me, left prefrontal cortex up here, and that's causing more positive thoughts. And so my hypothesis is that the Axio is actually causing more activation in the left prefrontal cortex, because I feel better. I start having more positive thoughts. It's easier to control the negative thoughts, push those out, and be bringing more thoughts. Because if you hold a thought for 17 seconds and another thought that is vibrating just like that thought is going to come in, and you're going to gather more and more and more of those positive thoughts. But if we spend most of our time thinking about those negative thoughts, that's what's going to come in, and it lowers our point of attraction. So, little law of attraction lesson there.
Oh, we're gonna have another live on law of attraction, because I cannot wait to hear. I love law of attraction. My husband always teases me about it. Even last night, we were going to dinner with my godson, and we were looking for a parking space, and oh man, I was manifesting that parking space. I was seeing us finding that close parking space, and
Yeah.
sure enough, we got that parking space. So I totally believe in the law of attraction and that your thoughts, you attract what you think of. So if you're a negative, you're going to attract negative things. It's just the way it goes. And I don't even know the science behind it or why, but we will definitely have to have another live on just about that because I think people will be thrilled to learn about that, to learn more about that, how they can change those thoughts, how they can, be more positive and not be, you know, in the last couple of weeks, there has been, this brings tears to my eyes. There has been several kids that have gone to school with my kids that have committed suicide. And I'm heartbroken over this. Like, I can't even talk about it. Like, what is going on? Like, what is going on with these kids? So I think that would be a great another topic for us to talk about. I mean, we have to do something to help these kids that are out there. And what is going on? Why are they? There's so much depression out there, and like we know that these, this nerve to activation and all of this would help, but also the thoughts you put in, right? Like we all get scary thoughts, we all get negative thoughts, but it's fighting that constantly and shifting that over
Yeah.
that. So
And a lot of people don't even understand that there is this thing called the receptive zone. How do I get in the receptive zone when I have all these negative thoughts? How do I switch it over? And a lot of people have no clue how to do that. So in our next conversation, we'll talk about that and throw a few little tidbits out and get your listeners to join in with that. So
yeah. So yeah, let's wrap it up here. So if anyone, wants to know more about what is this NRF2 activation, NRF1 activation, drop us comments down here. And, if you're a friend of Dr. Fannin, he'll see these comments also. This is on his page and he can send you information. I mean, ABC investigative report actually came in and investigated this NRF2 activation and what is it? Is it even real? Does it, it's another tool to help us get healthier, right? So if you want more information on it, please, put a comment on that you want more information, and we'll absolutely send you more information. And do you want to wrap it up with anything? I'll turn it over to you. Your last thoughts on this NRF2 and NRF1 and what it can do in our bodies? And, I guess why should people think about it? Why should people want to activate their NRF1 pathway and their NRF2 pathway?
well, it's incredible to me to see this medical breakthrough. I don't know how to put it any other way. It's truly a medical breakthrough, and why people wouldn't want to put this in their body. And I mean, I feel great as a result of it. I know I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm getting rid of that. But I doubled up on my Axio, and that seemed to cut it down real quick. So in a matter of 2 or 3 days, it really helped me. But I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't want to age slower or repair the mitochondria in their cells and fight the free radicals and deal with aging. These are all areas that most people are concerned with. And I think it's time for a lot of people to take a very serious look at this and say, this is real science, it's real stuff, and it does work. So, and Maria, thank you for having me on today, and look forward to doing more with you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. And yes, we need to talk about intuition and law of attraction and all of that. I mean, you have so much knowledge that I am so blessed to, call you my friend and to be on this journey with you. So thank you so much for everyone. Thank you. Thank you. And please, any comments down there, send Dr. Jeff Fannin some love, and we appreciate your time and your knowledge and everything. So thank you.